What happened in the zoo is still hard to believe. One of the elephants, who'd acted completely normal before this moment, suddenly started gathering stones. It kept placing them in the corner of the enclosure every day, stacking them up in a perfectly balanced tower. Nobody understood why, until his main caretaker uncovered the shocking reason. Before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. When Dolly, the elephant, arrived at the zoo about 2 weeks ago, everyone was very happy to welcome him. He was still getting used to everything, moving slowly and carefully around his new enclosure. But things seemed to improve day by day. That unfortunately came to a screeching halt shortly after. Linda, the head elephant keeper, was especially excited about Dolly. She kept a close eye on him, wanting to make sure he felt safe in his new home. One morning, Linda noticed something unusual. From her spot above the enclosure, she saw Dolly picking up stones from different spots on the ground. He carried them carefully, one by one, and placed them in a neat pile in the far right-hand corner, moving with surprising precision and care. Linda was surprised by what she saw. A bit confused, Linda continued to observe Dolly's new spare-time activity. He ignored the other elephants and even refused to eat during feeding time. Instead, he just picked up stone after stone to eventually place them on a pile in the corner of the enclosure. Each stone that was stacked made the pile grow higher. This was definitely odd behavior, but Linda had no idea yet how truly sad Dolly's reasoning for this build actually was. Not wanting to miss anything, Linda called her colleagues over the walkie-talkie. They all gathered at the viewing point, eyes fixed on Dolly. Together they watched as he repeated his actions, picking up stones and stacking them with great care, making the tower of stones a little taller every time. Soon, rumors began to spread throughout the zoo. Most of the onlookers thought it was just a creative way for the elephant to entertain itself. But Linda saw something different when she looked at Dolly. She'd been an elephant caretaker for many years now, and she could sense when something was amiss. "What are you trying to say, little one?" After a while, the onlookers and colleagues who were ignorant of the situation became bored with Dolly's actions and began leaving. Linda stayed behind, though. Even after the buzz and excitement had faded, she kept her eyes on the young elephant. He kept stacking the stones, almost as if something unseen was forcing him to continue. As the day came to an end and the park quieted down, Linda made up her mind. She decided it was time to step into the enclosure and see what Dolly was really doing. Carefully, she approached the stone pile, determined to get to the bottom of this mystery. Linda started removing the stones from the pile, expecting she might find something hidden underneath. She moved each stone gently, not wanting to frighten Dolly, who watched her every move with sad eyes. The stones were heavy, but Linda worked patiently, hoping for some kind of clue. The more stones Linda removed, the more she realized there was nothing there, just the cold, bare ground under the pile. She searched the dirt with her hands, double-checking for anything unusual, but there was absolutely nothing. The stones had only been stacked for their own sake. As Linda finished scattering the last of the stones, Dolly began to cry. The sound was quiet but heart-wrenching, unlike anything Linda had heard before from an elephant. With the stones scattered and no answers found, Linda finally left the zoo for the night. But right as she walked past the enclosure, Linda could already see Dolly hard at work again. He was lugging stones, building a new pile in that same corner. The other elephants were already asleep, but Dolly worked alone in the dark. Linda watched for a while, standing by the fence. She couldn't understand why Dolly was doing this, or why he wouldn't sleep like the other elephants. The sight left her worried and confused, feeling responsible for Dolly's well-being and desperate to figure out what was troubling him. That night, Linda lay in her bed, tossing and turning. She thought about Dolly in the stone tower, trying to guess what it all meant. Her mind was filled with questions. Why did Dolly stack the stones? What was he feeling? Why did he look so sad every time he placed a stone down? When the morning sun peeked through her window, Linda hardly slept. But still, she got out of bed right away. The questions from yesterday had not left her mind for a second, and she was determined to get to the bottom of Dolly's strange and sad behavior no matter what it took. Linda drove to the zoo before sunrise, knowing she would be the first to arrive. She already had an idea of what she would find when she got there, but seeing it in person was a different story. Even from outside the zoo, she could hear Dolly's trumpeting cries echoing sadly over the fences. That sound of Dolly's cries was what stuck with Linda even more than the strange stones. It was filled with an emotion Linda couldn't ignore. She hurried toward the elephant enclosure, her mind racing with questions about what could make the young elephant so sad and restless all of a sudden. Arriving at the enclosure, Linda stopped in her tracks. Dolly was standing next to a brand new creation. The stone pile was even bigger than the one from yesterday. Each stone was neatly balanced to form a long, thin peak in the same corner as the original one. "What are you doing?" Other elephants in the enclosure approached, curious about what Dolly had built, but Dolly wasn't letting anyone get close. Linda decided not to interfere this time. She was worried Dolly might become aggressive if she tried to remove the stones again. More than anything, she didn't want to add to his stress. She stood back, keeping a watchful eye, determined to find a safer way to learn more. Instead, Linda headed to her office, where she could check the camera recordings from the night. She wanted to see exactly how Dolly had behaved after everyone left. The footage might reveal something she had missed or provide a clue that could help explain his strange, persistent behavior. Linda also decided to check the old transfer papers that had come with Dolly when he first arrived. She read through everything carefully: birth records, details about his parents, and any notes about past behavioral issues. She wondered if there was something in Dolly's past that everyone had overlooked. On the camera footage, Linda watched Dolly as he worked all through the night. He carried stones back and forth without stopping. Sometimes he tried to rest, lying down right next to the stone pile, but that rest never lasted longer than a few minutes at a time. Dolly's need to protect the stone pile was clear. Even when he tried to nap, he stayed close to it, watching nervously for any signs of disturbance. If another elephant approached or if there was any unexpected sound, Dolly got up right away, ready to defend his carefully stacked tower. Linda found herself talking to the computer screen as she watched the footage. "What's going on with you? What are you trying to do?" she asked softly, wishing for answers. She still had no idea what was driving Dolly to build and protect the pile with so much determination and sadness, but that was about to change. Linda dug deeper into Dolly's transfer folder, searching for clues. Inside was a written account from Dolly's previous caretaker at the other zoo. The caretaker had written an emotional goodbye letter to Dolly, saying that he and the other elephants would truly miss him, but wasn't all that was inside the folder. Along with the reports, Linda found photos of Dolly's biological parents. There were notes about their personalities and behaviors too, but nothing unusual caught her eye. All the information looked in order, giving no hint about the strange stone-stacking habits that Dolly was now showing in his new home. Linda carefully reviewed every document and every photo. She searched for anything out of the ordinary or something that might explain what Dolly was doing. Then Linda turned to the very last page, and instantly her eyes widened in amazement. It was a photo of the old elephant enclosure, taken right before Dolly's move. Linda paused when she saw something unexpected in the photo. She wasn't sure if she was seeing it correctly, but it immediately grabbed her attention. Without hesitation, she called the director of the zoo where Dolly was born to share her concerns about his strange behavior stacking stone piles. On the other end of the line, the director was just as shocked. He listened carefully and urged Linda to visit immediately. "There's something here you need to see," he told her. Linda felt a mix of hope and worry as she hurried to make the arrangements. Without wasting any time, Linda wrote a quick note to her team, explaining the situation and that she was going to Dolly's birth zoo. She then got in her car, her mind racing with questions as she drove. Was Dolly's behavior related to something he had seen before? Would she find answers at his old zoo? Upon arriving, Linda parked close to the entrance. The zoo was busy, but she quickly spotted the director waiting for her just inside the gates. He waved her over, and they didn't waste any time. The director led Linda straight to the elephant enclosure. "You're quick," he remarked as they walked. Linda explained that Dolly's well-being was crucial, and she was determined to help the young elephant. The director nodded approvingly, telling Linda that her call had been the most helpful thing that had happened in weeks. They, too, had been struggling with an unusual behavior in their elephant enclosure. When they reached the enclosure, Linda was stunned. In the far right corner, she saw a large pile of perfectly stacked stones. It looked almost identical to the one Dolly had been building at her zoo. But this pile was here, 50 miles away. Her mind raced with questions. Had this pile always been here? Was Dolly trying to recreate something familiar from his past? But Linda felt there was something deeper and sadder going on. The director asked Linda to wait and observe. She agreed, standing by the fence, eyes fixed on the stone pile. Minutes passed in silence, until suddenly there was movement on the far side of the enclosure. A young elephant emerged from behind the trees. The elephant was smaller than Dolly, but looked to be about the same age. It moved with purpose, carrying a stone in its trunk and walking straight toward the pile. Linda watched in awe as the elephant carefully placed the stone on the growing pile, repeating the same behavior Dolly had shown. The director then introduced the young elephant. "This is Megan, our young elephant." He explained that Megan had been showing this stone-stacking behavior for quite some time, but it wasn't until Linda's call that they began to make the connection. To Linda's shock, the director revealed that Megan was Dolly's sister. The two had been separated for genetic reasons, but their behaviors were eerily similar. Megan had started stacking stones around the same time Dali began at Linda's zoo. The director explained that when Dali and Megan were very young, they would play with the stones together every day, building and knocking over towers. However, as they grew, the zoo decided to separate them, a decision that, while necessary for genetic purposes, had caused emotional distress. Linda felt a deep sense of guilt. Had they made the wrong decision? The director admitted that while the separation was meant for their own good, they hadn't fully considered the emotional impact on Dali and Megan. Determined to make things right, Linda contacted her team and the director at her zoo. Everyone agreed that it was time to try and reunite the siblings. Weeks later, the plan was set into motion. Megan was brought to Linda's zoo, and as soon as she entered Dali's enclosure, the two elephants met with immediate joy. There was no hesitation, only the sounds of happy trumpeting as they ran to each other. They knocked over the stone pile and began rebuilding it together, just like they had done as young calves. The siblings were finally reunited, and Linda felt a deep sense of relief, knowing they were together again.